Welcome to today's SeafoodNews.com video, sponsored by the Alaska Seafood Marketing Institute.
Good morning. Today is Earth Day, April 22nd, and we ran two stories today that really struck me for the good news that they bring about seafood sustainability. The first story is Monterey Bay has recognized the Global Aquaculture Alliance BAP farm shrimp standards as being a good alternative. For many years, the Monterey Bay Aquarium Seafood Watch has red listed most farm shrimp, or maybe all farm shrimp. And this has caused a lot of confusion in consumers' minds because it encourages the belief that aquaculture products are raised in unclean and contaminated ponds, and it just plays into a myth about aquaculture which is nowhere close to the reality. The reality of shrimp aquaculture, for example, is that it's a highly technology-driven industry, that a great effort is taken for biosecurity, and the idea that somehow this is like a haphazard thing where you just throw a few shrimp in a pond and let it grow without controls is something that just is no longer true. And Monterey Bay, by recognizing the efforts that have been going on for years to get shrimp farm certification standards and the efforts that Global Aquaculture Alliance has put into this, is taking a big step forward in broadening the environmental community's acceptance of farmed shrimp. So that's very good news. And the second part of the good news is how they did it. The Monterey Bay Aquarium has really taken seriously in recent years the requirement to peer review and scientifically analyze their seafood watch list. And partly it's been driven by their industry partners, companies like Aramark. Aramark is not going to stop selling shrimp. What they need to know from the aquarium is what are the shrimp best practices and how can they communicate the right type of shrimp that they're going to buy. And so through a 2-year process between the GAA and Monterey Bay scientists, they basically analyzed the global aquaculture standards on farmed shrimp, and they came to a remarkable agreement where they recognize that companies that have a BAP 2-star system that enforce these kind of standards at the farm and processing plant level are fully capable of producing a sustainable shrimp. And Monterey has put their name behind that. That is very good news. The second piece of good news is Kroger. Kroger, as a sort of their approach to Earth Day, has decided to highlight seafood sustainability. And the way they did that was they highlighted the partners they're working with, which include WWF on wild fish. They include the Global Aquaculture Alliance and BAP on farmed fish and shrimp. And they include the International Seafood Sustainability Foundation on tuna. And what Kroger did, and they promoted 3 videos through their social media, and they really approached the idea of educating their consumers about sustainability in a positive manner without having to scare them to death that the fisheries are collapsing and the oceans are falling apart. And this kind of messaging, I think, really has to be embraced, because what we have here is people who are committing to sustainable seafood whose purpose is actually to sell more seafood and keep seafood being sustainable. And this is in sharp contrast to some of the motivations that drive some of the more extreme NGO criticisms of seafood, which is from those who want to see all uses or commercial uses of the ocean largely stopped, and who don't believe that there is such a thing as large-scale food production in the ocean. And consequently, they use a type of fear-mongering or scare tactics that would make consumers afraid to eat fish because it's going to be so irrevocably destroyed. An example of that kind of thinking, which got the sponsors, Loblaw and the MSC, into a lot of trouble, was a video they produced last summer, which basically tried to convince consumers that almost all the seafood, including seafood that was already certified by the MSC, was harvested in a destructive and unsustainable manner. I think Kroger's approach here is a breath of fresh air, and I really urge you to look at the two videos on our site. In our Kroger story, we have a link to the older one, and see the difference and the extent to which suppliers and retailers like Kroger adopt this kind of positive attitude. We can have two very important things. We can have very wide acceptance of credible and traceable real seafood sustainability improvements, and we can also have widespread acceptance and sale of seafood as a major protein source. So, congratulations to Kroger on Earth Day for a job well done. In Lexington, Mass., this is John Sackton.
Today's SeafoodNews.com video was brought to you by the Alaska Seafood Marketing Institute. Alaska has been protecting wild and sustainable seafood for generations and adheres to the most recognized and internationally accepted set of guidelines written by the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization. For recipes and additional information, visit wildalaskaflavor.com.